Hey folks, it's Taugrim. You may remember last summer I posted a video showing sparring footage in Muay Thai. This is Thai kickboxing. And last summer I made an intentional decision to try to get better at sparring, and the only way you get better at sparring is by actually sparring. So you can spend all the time you want in the world hitting pads and doing classes, which are really important for working on technique and getting fit. But actual live sparring involves fighting with people of different skill levels, different builds, statures, techniques, and learning how to gauge in real time range and distance and attack and defense. You're not going to learn that any other way but than by actually sparring. So sparring against a much taller person here. This is Tim. He, like me, he's orthodox. That means he's got his left leg forward. You can tell I'm still working a lot of stance switching. That has been one big point of emphasis for me. So I'm moving from having orthodox stance, which is left foot forward, to southpaw stance, which is right foot forward. And I've heard different things about it. People have said you should just focus on one stance until you're extremely proficient with it. And while I don't disagree with that, I like working both stances. It kind of teaches you to be a little bit ambidextrous from a striking perspective, and then it allows you to take different angles on people, which they're not necessarily expecting. So you'll see me do a lot of stance switching and then kick with the leg, which is forward. So that's something that I've been practicing and picking up on. Right there, Tim, he could have swept me pretty hard. He went light on the kick. I kicked my left kick high. He went underneath it with his right leg and kicked underneath my right knee behind it. And that's actually, it's not damaging toward the knee per se, but it would totally knock me off balance since that's my plant leg. And there I managed to get in close enough to land a right jab to his head. It's hard with a person who's tall like this and has pretty decent striking defense. It's hard to get inside. The nice thing with kicks is that even if you're much shorter, you can still land leg kicks. And there you see I didn't catch his teep kick correctly. I should have grabbed it with both gloves. I will say it's a lot easier in the gloves that I'm wearing in this video. So here I am wearing some relatively new Fairtex BGV1. So this is our classic training glove with the variant that has the mesh lining for breathability. In the previous video I was using the Hayabusa T3 striking gloves, and those are like big pillows, and the main reason why I use those is they have a double strap wrist enclosure, which makes it super supportive of the wrist. It also makes it a real pain to take on and off. And so it was interesting getting these gloves because I always want to try Thai style gloves, which have a shorter cuff and are more flexible in the wrist for clinching, to see whether or not they would be okay as far as wrist support. And the thing I've realized, as long as I laces or cinch up the Velcro straps reasonably tight, my wrist has been fine. And a big part of not injuring your wrist when you strike is making sure you've got the proper alignment between your target, your wrist, your glove, your wrist, and your elbow. And if you get those things aligned, your wrist is going to be fine. So the next guy I'm going to spar against is a southpaw. This guy, Eric, has a very classic Muay Thai guard, so keeps those hands high, makes it tough to hit him in the head, which is obviously for him good. And I know from experience sparring him that he has a really fast rear leg kick. That's his left leg. And so it's interesting. I used to try fighting him southpaw to southpaw, and I realized this is what he does full time. He's better at it than I am. And so I will selectively stance switch to land like kicks and counters, but it really depends, right? And I'm trying to keep that left shoulder up high, for his right hook. So I block that one on my shoulder. You're going to see he catches me later with a good one. But right there, you can see that's that kind of sort of stance switch. So I slid my lead leg back, kick right there. So that's part of the advantage of like kind of working in stance switching, getting used to like kind of having one leg come back and then kick with the forward leg. I found that to be pretty useful. And the thing is, like, everyone has different techniques that they're comfortable with. So the leg kicks are a big part of my arsenal. There's like I did a half quarter clockwise turn and then kicked him with my left leg. His return kick on my rear leg, on my left leg as it was trailing, was it was a really smart thing to do. And you guys, if you've seen the first fight between Shogun and Lyoto Machida, I'm talking about. Part of what Machida would do as a karate style fighter is he would move forward and backwards, and so he would retreat in a straight line. And what Shogun was doing was just throwing out a Muay Thai kick and hitting whichever leg was trailing. It was like very effective in that fight. And right there, Eric just caught me with a pretty solid left leg kick, and I had my feet, I didn't have them positioned correctly, and he saw that I was kind of flat-footed. That's a mistake, obviously. Yeah, but the talking about these Fairtex gloves, it's one of those things where the gloves themselves, they're like, I think like $85. I bought them off Amazon. A nice return leg kick by Eric there, but I wish I had tried them earlier, but the thing is, you never know. Like I would definitely recommend Hayabusa gear to anyone. It's very high quality. Some people will say that it's overpriced because it's got a big marketing name. I will say that the Hayabusa shin guards that I've got on, I got wearing now, these are the same ones I had last summer. These are by far the best shin guards I've ever had because they've got that loop back strap system. So the shin guards don't move very much. I hate it when shin guards slide whenever you get kicked and you block. It's super annoying. And then they kind of flare out above the outside of your knee. I don't actually know if that's needed so much, but the loop back straps make a big difference. But I'm a big fan of these Fairtex gloves, and the fact they've got the mesh in the palm makes them breathe a lot better, both in terms of when I'm wearing them and also after workout to stretch out. So this is Jason. So what's interesting, like Eric, he's shorter than me, but unlike Eric, he's got a much more movement-based style. So Jason will do a lot of stance switching. He'll do a lot of forward, backward, lateral movement. And so when we're sparring, it looks very different than when Eric and I are sparring. It's more about kind of timing and setup and counters. And then when Jason and I are going, it's more about a lot of movement and trying to predict, right? But this is part of what's fun. Like I said, I feel like I've gotten meaningfully better compared to last summer. I still need to get in better shape because I took about from Thanksgiving to Christmas and a little after a break. So I'm still working my way into shape. But as far as not getting hit as much, that's been a good thing for me. Again, we're not trying to crank and hurt each other. These are I would say light sparring classes or technical sparring classes. We're not looking to knock each other's head off. Right there, that was a good timed kick because I could tell he was heavy on his front leg, and that's what I'll do a lot. If I notice someone's heavy on their front leg, or they lifted it and they're just putting it down, or they're taking a step, especially if they're taking a step laterally, that's when they'll try to kick it because their weight is on it, and it's good to get the timing down. Obviously, like I said, we're not trying to knock each other's head off. I actually strike a lot more carefully than I used to compared to 5 years ago. It's one of those things where I think when people spar when they're less experienced, everyone gets super excited. You get carried away, and to some extent, it's fun hitting a person, a real target for the first time instead of hitting pads. But the thing you quickly realize is you can injure other people. I've kicked people on the outside of their thigh or hamstring, and had people go down because it hurt a lot. I popped a guy's eardrum who's a friend because I hit him with a hook too hard. And I've gotten nicked up and got the wind knocked out of me. I've eaten some liver shots. In the previous video, actually, the guy Gabe, the first guy that I sparred against, he hit me right in the liver toward the end of the round, and it just totally, getting hit in the liver sucks, by the way, totally knocks your wind out of you. This is hilarious. I was going to clinch Jason, and so he right uppercutted me, and so I right jabbed him to the face. It's kind of a half-hearted attempt at sparring. But anyway, that's sparring a gym like this with a lot of people, different skill levels, different technique emphasis, different builds. It's really good for kind of sharpening your technique, and so I'm continuing to learn and really enjoy it.